In this video, we're diving into the top 7 worst cars made by women in history. Yep, you heard that right. Imagine a car designed by women for women. And honestly, as I read about it, I nearly laughed my pants off. What are these cars? And why were they created? That's what you'll find out. We're talking pink interiors, bizarre designs, and features you never knew you didn't need. So let's jump in. 1. Volvo YCC. Alright, first on our list is the Volvo YCC, or your concept car from 2004. This car had features like easy clean upholstery and a bunch of storage compartments for all those mysterious items. And get this, it had gull-wing doors. Yep, like a DeLorean from Back to the Future. It's like Volvo thought every woman wanted to feel like Marty McFly. But here's the kicker. It was so focused on quirky features that the actual performance was forgotten. The YCC was like that friend who is super organized but always forgets their keys. Practical in theory, but not so much in execution. The car catered to the independent businesswoman with interchangeable seat covers and sensor-operated doors that wouldn't open if another car was too close. The dashboard had everything labeled in big letters, and the parking system would calculate whether you could fit into a spot and park itself. Fancy, right? Except sometimes it had a moment of weakness and would scrape the curb anyway. But don't worry, the rims were scratch-proof. The engine? Completely sealed off from those pesky female hands. If it needed an oil change, it would notify the nearest Volvo service center itself. It was like the car was trying to be a superhero, but ended up more like a sitcom character. So there you have it. The Volvo YCC, a car so packed with unique features and quirks that it was more like a rolling punchline. It never made it to mass production, but it sure gave us something to remember and laugh about. Let's move on to the next car on our list. 2. Ford Mustang II. Next up on our list is the Ford Mustang II. Produced from 1974 to 1978. The original Mustang is an icon, so when Ford decided to downsize it during the oil crisis, expectations were high. But oh boy, did it miss the mark. Imagine replacing the roar of a lion with the squeak of a mouse. That's the Mustang II. Instead of a powerful V8 engine, it had a 4-cylinder that was so underwhelming, it was like the car was constantly asking, "Are we there yet?" The interior felt like a mobile Tupperware container, practical, but lacking the excitement of the original Mustang. And the styling? It looked like the Mustang was having an identity crisis, trying to be sporty, but ending up like a sad, oversized hatchback. Despite its good intentions, the Mustang II couldn't live up to the Mustang name. It became the punchline of car jokes, and a symbol of how not to reinvent a classic. So let's give a round of applause to the Ford Mustang II, a car that aimed to be practical, but ended up as a shadow of its former self. Stay tuned, because the journey through automotive missteps is just getting started. 3. Dodge La Femme. Next on our list is the Dodge La Femme from 1955 to 1956. Imagine a car designed exclusively for women, complete with a pink and white color scheme and matching accessories. It's like Barbie's dream car brought to life. The Dodge La Femme came with a handbag, raincoat, umbrella, and even a matching lipstick case. The interior was decked out in pink and rosebud tapestry. It was like sitting inside a giant floral arrangement. The designers thought, what do women love? Flowers and pink. Let's just throw those in everywhere. But here's the kicker. The La Femme was a total flop. Women didn't want a car that screamed stereotypes. Who knew, right? It was discontinued after just 2 years due to poor sales. The La Femme is now remembered as a humorous attempt at gender-specific marketing that missed the mark. So let's give it up for the Dodge La Femme. The car that proves sometimes less is more when it comes to understanding your audience. 4. Cadillac Cimarron. Next up is the Cadillac Cimarron from 1982 to 1988. Picture this. Cadillac, known for luxury, decided to jump into the compact car market to compete with European imports. Sounds smart, right? Well, not quite. The Cimarron was basically a dressed-up Chevrolet Cavalier. Imagine putting a tuxedo on a scarecrow and calling it James Bond.
Really, nigga?
It had leather seats and a fancy name, but it was just a Cavalier underneath, a sheep in wolf's clothing. Performance-wise, the Cimarron was as exciting as watching paint dry. The engine was weak, and the ride was rough. It was like Cadillac tried to make a sports car and ended up with a go-kart. Even with the leather and wood trim, It felt like driving a hand-me-down. And the price? Cadillac charged a premium, but buyers soon realized they were getting a Cavalier with a Cadillac badge. It was like buying a designer handbag and finding out it's a knockoff. The critics had a field day, and the Cimarron quickly became a symbol of what not to do. The Cimarron was discontinued after 6 years, leaving behind a legacy of laughs. So, let's give a nod to the Cadillac Cimarron, the car that tried to be something it wasn't, and ended up as one of the biggest missteps in automotive history. 5. Chevrolet Citation. Next on our list is the Chevrolet Citation from 1980 to 1985. This car was supposed to revolutionize Chevy's lineup, but it turned into a real head-scratcher. Imagine a car that was hyped as the future of automobiles, but ended up being a mechanic's nightmare. The Citation was Chevy's first front-wheel drive compact car, and even won Car of the Year in 1980. Impressive, right? Well, not for long. The car had more issues than a soap opera plot. Brake problems, suspension failures, and rust were just the beginning. It was like the car was made of cardboard. Driving the Citation was an unpredictable adventure. One day it worked fine. The next day, it felt like it was falling apart. The interior wasn't any better. Think cheap plastic and uncomfortable seats that felt like sitting on a park bench. Despite its award-winning start, the Citation quickly became infamous for its endless recalls. Owners spent more time fixing it than enjoying it, turning the car into a running joke. So, let's give a cheer to the Chevrolet Citation, the car that started with a bang and ended with a whimper. It's a perfect example of how high hopes can crash spectacularly. Stay tuned, because the ride through these automotive missteps continues. 6. Renault Le Car. Next up is the Renault Le Car, sold in the US from 1976 to 1984. Imagine a car that's as charming as a loaf of French bread, but in America, it turned into a soggy croissant. Renault marketed Le Car as the perfect urban vehicle, small, affordable, and practical. But what it delivered was a tiny, boxy car that looked like it was designed with a ruler. It was so underpowered that getting up to highway speed felt like a victory. The interior was basic, almost Spartan, with seats that felt like leftover couch cushions. The design didn't win any beauty contests either. Despite being a hit in Europe, Americans were not impressed. The Le Car often struggled to keep up on the roads, and it rusted faster than you could say bonjour. Sales were disappointing, and the Le Car quickly became a joke. It was discontinued in 1984, leaving behind a legacy of chuckles. So, let's give a nod to the Renault Le Car, the car that tried to bring a slice of Europe to America but ended up as a punchline. Stay tuned for more automotive flops. 7. Buick Rendezvous. Last on our list is the Buick Rendezvous, produced from 2001 to 2007. Buick tried to blend an SUV with a minivan, but the result was more confusing than exciting. It looked like a mishmash of both, failing to be either sleek or spacious. Performance-wise, the Rendezvous was lackluster, lacking the power of an SUV and the agility of a minivan. Driving it felt like piloting a sluggish boat. The interior was full of cheap materials and uninspired design, making it feel more like a budget rental car. Mechanical issues were common, from transmission troubles to electrical problems, making ownership a headache. Despite its lofty promises, the Rendezvous fell short and quickly became a joke. Discontinued in 2007, it left behind frustrated owners and a reputation for being a major misstep. So let's give a nod to the Buick Rendezvous, the car that aimed high but landed flat. Our journey through these car flops has been a wild ride, but there's always more to explore. Stay tuned for more automotive adventures. And there you have it, folks. The top 7 worst cars made by women in history. If you thought these cars were wild, wait until you see what's next. Want to know about the top 10 most luxurious cars in the world for 2023 to 2024? Click on this video right here. Thanks for watching, love you guys. See you over there.